Portland just got ranked the top foodie city in the country. In this video, we're going to talk about why. Stay tuned to learn more. Hey, what's up everybody? This is Paul Clem with the Home Team Brokers coming to you from Portland, Oregon. If this is your first time to the channel living in Oregon and you want to get more videos like this, make sure to hit the subscribe button and tap the little bell to get notified every time we drop a new video. We've helped so many people relocate to Oregon and move to the Portland area, and as real estate professionals, we love to help with that process. So if that's you, give us a call, send us a text, shoot us an email, or click the link down below in the description of the video and schedule a Zoom call with us. Either way, we would love to help with your move to the Portland area. Okay, so WalletHub just named Portland the top foodie city in the country. And that is based on a number of factors and a number of different criteria that they use to measure. Now, you might be asking, who is WalletHub? They are a personal finance website and they have a ton of rankings for cities all around the country for safest, most fun, most activities, best for outdoors, best foodie cities, of course. And in this case, they just came out with their ranking for top foodie cities in the country. Portland, Oregon ranked #1. And so yes, this WalletHub, article or survey that they just came out with, might be somewhat arbitrary. Obviously, anybody could say anything about anywhere, but it is no secret that Portland has one of the best food scenes in the country, and we are routinely ranked on these top 10 lists, and we fall in the top 5 and top 10 every year from, Thrillist to Eater and a lot of different online publications, magazines, etc., you name it. So, growing up in Portland, I don't really recall there being this whole scene around food. It didn't seem as much of a foodie place, and so I may just not have had as much exposure to it. I was a little kid growing up in Southwest Portland where we do have some great local restaurants, but I was taking myself to Wendy's to get a spicy chicken sandwich off the dollar menu and stuff like that. So it does feel like that in the last 15, 20 years that Portland has really emerged in terms of this food scene that we have. And so if you're thinking about moving to Portland, Oregon, okay, what does that mean for you? Are you going to have access to some of this great food? Where can you find it? What are the options going to look like, etc.? That's what we're going to talk about in this video. So this ranking that came out, and the reason I'm citing that as a source for this video is it ranks based on a number of different criteria. So first and foremost, it ranks on affordability, number of restaurants per capita, accessibility, access to specialty foods, different types of foods, for example. Also, breweries, wineries, things like that. There's other criteria like food carts and food festivals, for example. So if you look at all of that, it's really no surprise that Portland came in #1 on this list. And the two main criteria that they had in their ranking was affordability and accessibility. So as far as affordability, Portland ranked 36 out of 180, so not the most affordable, but definitely not the most expensive. And honestly, when you look at Portland being a West Coast city, being one of the more expensive places to live in the country overall, but still, the most affordable city on the West Coast, either way, 36 out of 180th is pretty good. Now, the accessibility piece, Portland was ranked 4th out of 180 cities around the country, so we're talking about an abundance of great independent restaurants, independent restaurant chains, local chains, and really a variety of restaurants that you can get, from food carts to a ton of different, casual dining to, yes, some nicer restaurants where you can, drop a pretty penny. But I think overall, and what you'll find in Portland is, again, yes, there are some restaurants that do skew a little more expensive. There's really not a ton of them. And some of the best, most kind of highly rated and heralded restaurants in the Portland metro area are generally pretty affordable. I mean, you're talking about maybe, 15 15 to 25, maybe up to $30 for an entree, appetizers, 8 to 12 bucks, things like that, which obviously, that can add up, of course, but we're not talking about, nice, fancy, dimly lit, steakhouses and, really upscale, fine dining necessarily. Again, you can find some of that, but that's not the majority of what you're going to get in terms of restaurants in the Portland area. I mean, again, you're talking everywhere from food carts to great brunch places. Brunch is a big deal here, like it is, in a lot of places around the country, to sandwich spots, great lunch spots, and then again, a lot of relatively casual dining in terms of some of the highest rated restaurants in the Portland metro area. So you get all this variety, and I think what it allows for, when you look at all of this criteria in one, something that a lot of people like to do in this neck of the woods is get out and try new restaurants. That's a big part of the social scene in Portland for sure. If you are actively, trying new places, getting out, trying all the great restaurants that the Portland metro area has to offer, you're going to be taken off in different directions. You're going to see different neighborhoods, you're going to see even different suburbs. And that's part of what I want to talk about or really highlight in this video too, is that we're not just talking about downtown Portland. In fact, in a lot of ways in the last couple of years, you've seen downtown Portland obviously go through some unrest. Homelessness, yes, is an issue. Up until recently, you did see a lot of businesses kind of boarded up and things like that. Restaurants and other businesses have been leaving the downtown area. That doesn't mean it doesn't exist there. There's not, it doesn't mean there's not great restaurants downtown. It also doesn't mean that downtown is a place that people never go to or don't hang out in necessarily. But I think, downtown Portland is ripe for revival. And I think it's something that we're going to see in the coming years for sure. If you look at the news and if you look at the reputation that downtown Portland has, there's really only one direction to go from here. And I think there really will be some rebuilding and a resurgence of businesses, and in particular restaurants coming back into downtown Portland. But either way, if you look at 5-10 years ago, longer, downtown Portland wasn't necessarily the main hub for this great food scene that Portland has. Really, it's going to be in Southeast Portland and Northeast Portland by and large, where you have these little bar and restaurant districts, 8, 10, 12 different strips, at 10, 15, 20 block strips of shopping and bars and restaurants. A lot of these great independent, highly rated, and often award-winning restaurants exist in these little kind of urban residential neighborhoods, again in Southeast Portland and in Northeast Portland, and also Northwest Portland a lot too, where you have the Pearl District, which I think the Pearl District had a little bit of an exodus, based on some of the things that I was talking about a minute ago. But the Pearl District overall is a little bit more of an upscale area. So this is where you can get some of the nicer restaurants, where you're gonna maybe drop a couple $100, nicer lounges and cocktail bars and things like that. So the foodie scene definitely is very much a part of the Pearl District, and the Pearl District is an extension by and large of downtown. It's on the west side. It's, kind of securely in that downtown area, but also up into the Northwest District, up around Northwest 23rd and 21st. Some great restaurants up there. So within Portland proper, and really within probably a 60-mile radius, at least going east, and then on the west side, extending out 20 blocks or so, you're going to get a ton of great options. But for those who are thinking about moving to Portland and don't want to necessarily be near the city, maybe you want to live out in the suburbs, I think a couple of points there. One, really, if you are in any suburb within the Portland metro area, you're going to be able to get downtown Portland or to get into Portland proper, into Southeast and Northeast Portland, where a lot of these great restaurants are, relatively easy. So if you want to, go out to dinner and get into Portland, but you live in Beaverton or Hillsborough or down south in Wilsonville or out in Gresham or up in Vancouver, you can get into the city, and depending on time of day, you might have some traffic, but it's really not that far. I think, what Portland specifically has to offer is going to be accessible to anybody throughout the Portland metro area. Also, we've seen really a lot of these great restaurants either open new locations in a lot of the suburbs, or have moved out of the city and into the suburbs. Some suburbs of the Portland metro area, more than other, have little downtown areas, little restaurant districts that really kind of resemble in some ways, the urban residential type feel that you can get like in a southeast and northeast Portland. Lake Oswego, for example, which, definitely has a little more of a nicer upscale feel for sure, but the downtown area of Lake Oswego has a ton of great restaurants. Also up Boone's Ferry near Cruise Way in Lake Oswego, there was a ton of development in the last couple of years, and some of the highest rated restaurants in Portland opened up locations there. So, Lake Oswego is probably the best suburb for these local independent restaurants as far as, the Portland metro area goes and what you can get. But Beaverton has really had a ton of resurgence lately with their little downtown area, a ton of great breweries and restaurants coming in there. Even all the way out to Hillsboro, like in Aranco Station. Oregon City has had some really great restaurants going into their downtown area. West Lynn and the little downtown Willamette area has some great restaurants and a lot of great options. So again, this isn't just limited to the city by any means. And I think that's where, you see that ranking where we have, we're 4th out of 180 in the country in terms of accessibility is, because it's not all just downtown, or it's not all just within kind of this Portland proper or in the city. You have a lot of this moving out into the suburbs and kind of expanding out northwest, east, and south. So the good news is, you can get into the city, have a night on the town, get to some of the great restaurants, in Portland, but if you are looking at some of the suburbs and some of the surrounding areas, you're going to find a lot of great options there as well. I think overall, too, the food scene in Portland and in the Portland metro area is really highlighted by the food cart scene. We call them food carts, not food trucks. Don't ask me why. But there are dozens of these food cart pods all around Portland and all around the metro area. All the different suburbs are getting these different food cart pods. And you get some of the biggest name restaurants have food carts as well. But you also have some of the best restaurants that have brick and mortar locations now in Portland started as a food cart. So that's a very natural progression for some of these great restaurants that are in Portland to start as a food cart, get a lot of exposure, get a lot of notoriety, popularity that way, and then ultimately go in to a brick and mortar location. So, these food cart pods are really some of the best food you can get in the city. And if you're looking at affordability, some of them can be a little pricey, or, when you go to order at a food cart, you maybe assume you're going to pay, $8, $10 or something. You could still end up paying $15, $20 for your dinner. But again, you're going to get some really great food by some really great chefs. And again, where you're eating, whatever food, cart you're eating at, that very well could be, the next top restaurant in Portland. So, the food cart pods and the food cart culture is really big in Portland. This rating that Wallet Hub came out with as well also rated based on wineries and breweries, which is an enormous part of the culture in Oregon and in the Portland metro area. Portland proper alone, Portland city limits, has 70 breweries, and there are dozens of breweries in each of the suburbs surrounding Portland as well. So there's certainly no shortage there. Breweries themselves can oftentimes have some really good food too. Sometimes you're just going to get your standard pub food, burgers and fries, things like that. But even when that's the case, oftentimes it's going to be a little bit elevated. It's going to be a little bit higher quality, naturally sourced ingredients, or rather locally sourced ingredients, things like that. So you can get some really good food at a lot of these breweries. Oregon itself is home to over 900 wineries. So there's several different wine regions throughout the state, but all of these great restaurants, all of these places that you can go and check out are going to have great local wines available too. So I think, that really amplifies and kind of adds to the experience overall. So again, Portland is always on these top 10 lists of best food cities in the country. And this particular list that just came out, Portland made #1, so it was all over the local news. Of course, it's something that, the people here are very proud of. It's a really big part of the culture. And if you are thinking about moving to the Portland metro area, there are definitely going to be areas where the access is going to be a little better. There's going to be suburbs in particular where, yes, you're going to have some options. Yes, you're going to be able to get into downtown or get into other parts of Portland that have great restaurants relatively easily, but you know, there are some areas around Portland that if you want to really have, you know, this type of food and beverage experience overall really at your doorstep, there's going to be places that are maybe going to be better than others, and that's part of what we're here to help with. So, you know, if you are thinking about moving to the Portland area, make sure to give us a call, send us a text, shoot us an email, or click the link down below in the description of the video. Schedule a Zoom call with us. We can talk about areas that are going to suit you, talk about your timeline, get you started with a home search, and ultimately set up for success. And if this video was helpful, make sure to hit the like button. If you want to get more videos like this, make sure to subscribe to the channel, click the little bell to get notified every time we drop a new video. As always, we really appreciate you watching, and until next time, we'll talk to you later.